Alibaba-owned Daraz is clearly the market leader in Pakistani e-commerce, but it is still too early to say that it has built a lasting advantage for itself. Profit had an exclusive look into Daraz's financials and interviewed their CEO, Bjarke Mikkelsen, and their managing director for Pakistan, Ehsan. So trust plays an important component in the e-commerce industry. Does Daraz calculate a consumer perception index or survey? And if so, what are the results?
Yeah, we do definitely. And the results, like over the last 12 months, we've made huge progress. So we have first of there are two main things well, there's a couple of different things that we track, but one of them is our customer satisfaction score. Right. So if there's an interaction with a customer through customer service or chat or anything, afterwards we always ask the customer, were you satisfied with the solution? Right, and that's the most immediate impact. And here we've made huge progress, and we see that in 9 out of 10 customers are now actually satisfied with any interaction that they have with Daraz. We still want to bring that higher, but 9 out of 10 is a big improvement over the last 12 months. And then the second is the NPS score, so the Net Promoter Score, where we've also made huge progress, and we're now at around 50 for NPS, and we want to bring that up to 60 plus in the coming year. So I think also that's a massive improvement even over the last 12 months. So we're making great progress. I'm not worried about getting there, and the word is also spreading. But of course, it takes a little bit of time for the brand perception to also to catch up with all the significant investments we're making into service quality.
So if we were to use Daraz Mall as a proxy for consumer confidence, what proportion of revenue comes in from Daraz Mall?
It's about 35%, but I would just say that it's important that you don't think about Daraz Mall as the only place where you can find good products, right? There's a lot of other sellers, and our job is not that we have Daraz Mall, this is where you have quality, and then you have everything else where it's not good, right? That's not the idea. The idea is that everything should be good. But Daraz Mall is more like a brand store. So think about it as if you're walking into a Dolmen Mall, right? That's a different experience, but that doesn't mean that you can't find a good product at a good price in a local market, which is not in a mall. So it's just a more structured and I would say premium environment. And about 35% of our sales is coming from that channel, but our focus is equally much on making sure that we can structure and verify and secure the quality of the broader marketplace. Because to be honest, that's where most of the growth is, right? That's also how if you look at the offline market, a lot of people, they don't go to the mall. They buy things on the street or in the offline markets.
The prices of products, specifically electronics, are cheaper in the offline market. What are the reasons behind this?
I will just give my view, and then maybe Ehsan, you should also jump in on this. But I think it's the nature of the market is that you go to the offline market and then you often negotiate, right? Whereas the brand flagship store, they will have a recommended retail price, and that's if we work directly with the big distributors. That's the one that we also get on the app. And then if you go to the offline market where there's a retailer who's maybe stuck with some inventory, then he will give you an extra 500 rupees off, right? And this is what we're pushing the team, is to make sure that our price is always competing with the best negotiated price, not just the listed price, but the best negotiated price. And this is a process. I think for 2 years ago, this was very difficult for us, but now we're starting to represent a healthy share of many of our biggest sellers, and they're willing to also give us the best negotiated price, at least for campaigns, even if it's better than the one that you see in the offline market. So this is an ongoing process where we negotiate, we push the teams, we negotiate with the sellers, and the real way where we can get this for the entire assortment is only through density. So we have enough sellers competing in every single category so that we're always price competitive. And that's why people ask me, you have 20 million products on the platform, isn't that enough? But the idea is that we have so many also different sellers who are competing with each other that they will always give the best price. So in the end, we're not quite there. We're much better than where we were 2 years ago or even 1 year ago in terms of always being price competitive. For big campaigns, I would say that we're quite confident that we do have the best price on the on the top selling SKUs. For the broader marketplace, for everything else, I think we're getting there. But the only real way to do this at massive scale is just by having everybody on board and having a big scale, so that we represent an increasingly large share of our sellers' revenue. Then this will come naturally. It's a process. We cannot fix it overnight, but I think we're making good progress here. And also the number of inquiries that we saw, for example, in this 11/11 about not having the best prices. I don't actually think, some people said it, but then they posted screenshots from last year and stuff. I don't think there were any valid claims where we could actually see that our price was not competitive. But Ehsan, maybe do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think you covered all the topics. I think just the element of competitiveness is really what we aim for. And that really is, at the end of the day, the only scalable way to drive prices down over the long. So I don't think I have anything else to add there.
So Ehsan, is this the only reason for this? So for instance, if I go to Abid Market, a big market for white goods in Lahore, and I buy a product from there, I doubt that they're paying GST. So is taxation a major factor in all of this?
Yeah, I think without a doubt, I think that's definitely an element that you hit the nail on the head as well, is that there is obviously an element of them when they're in the formal economy and they're digitized, that comes with its own pros and cons. And I think that does at times impact pricing. But having said that, I think in the only real way to fix this is that all the sellers that are there from, for example, Abid Market, they're there from different markets across the country, can actually competitively bring the prices down. But of course, then when you're there offline, they can eat away some of those costs, which you cannot necessarily hide in a digital universe. So that does impact costs for the sellers that are in the offline world.
Definitely, yeah. And that's I think one of the challenges where we are also fully aligned with for example, FBR, right? That our interest is that we also make it pay off to be a legitimate business, right? That people should feel good about registering on Daraz, because when you register on Daraz, you become very visible, right? You cannot hide. Anyone can go onto our app and they can see who's selling. So we want to make sure that we prove to our sellers that it pays off to be registered. It pays off to pay your taxes, because if you register, you can also optimize and scale your business in a much bigger way. So we're actually working. We can share this. This is not public yet, so please don't publish this. But we can share this with you. But we're working with the World Bank on a study to prove this. Right. So we will be rolling out a survey over the next month to all of our sellers in collaboration with the World Bank, to basically prove this. Everybody knows that e-commerce creates a lot of opportunities, but here the hypothesis is that it also pays to register your business and take maybe that extra tax burden of registering your business, because once you digitize and you optimize your business for e-commerce, it opens up a lot of other efficiency possibilities and growth possibilities. So that's the purpose of the study that we hope to prove, and then we will publish the results in collaboration with the World Bank.
So does Daraz really trust the government in hopes that it would bring these people into the taxation net?
I trust the government to try. I think they are trying. We have a lot of interactions with the government. The way that it's happening, I'm not a big fan of. So I think it's not being done always in the most business friendly way. But I think that the drive and the intention to expand the tax net is definitely there.
So other than tax issues, and there are systematic issues within Pakistan which hinder the e-commerce growth. But if we talk about a previous interview of yours where you've mentioned that Daraz Bangladesh is growing at a much faster pace than Daraz Pakistan, and you entered Daraz in Bangladesh later than you did in Pakistan. So what are the differences between Pakistan and other areas where you operate? What are the systematic differences? What are the differences in the regulation, in the logistics support that you have, in the infrastructure, in the consumer perception? So how does Pakistan differ from other markets that Daraz operates in?
I think part of it, there are different components. I think the infrastructure part, from a logistics perspective, if you compare Pakistan and Bangladesh, I mean, Pakistan is better, right? There's more qualified partners and infrastructure. On the internet penetration side, we actually see it a little bit higher in Bangladesh. So here I think the government has made it easier or more friendly for also for mobile phone companies to import with less taxes. So they've really promoted very actively the smartphone penetration. So this is something where I think the Pakistan government they could have done more over the last 5 years to to grow the number of people with smartphones and help digitize the society in that way. Same in terms of payments, where we just see the prepayment business in Bangladesh is further, I would say, further advanced than it has been, partly because of regulatory support. In terms of the tax structure, it's similar, but I think what is a little bit unique in Pakistan is that the benefit or the difference between being registered and not being registered is much bigger, right? So we have the same dynamics, but there's just a huge incentive to cheat, to put it bluntly.
In Pakistan.
Yeah, in Pakistan, right? And the incentive is bigger. And when we speak to the government, I was on a panel discussion recently with one of the personal advisors to the Prime Minister. We did this with the Economist and talking about illicit trade in Pakistan. And one of the things that the government is definitely working on is to narrow this gap. They know, right? But it's just difficult when you're balancing, a struggling economy where you need to broaden the tax net and actually lower the taxes at the same time. It's the chicken and the egg. But the intention is there. I think they're working on the right things, which is first of all to capture more of the inflowing goods, to claim more tax customs revenues, because there's just way too many smuggled goods that are coming into Pakistan with no taxes on. So they're working on that. But in order to do that, you need to remove some of the incentive. You need to make it less attractive to cheat. And the same with registering your business. We need to make the tax rates more manageable for small businesses. So I think they're working on it, or I know they're working on it, but how fast we can get there, we'll see.
What about Sri Lanka? Is it any different?
Yeah, Sri Lanka has also had a great run in the last 18 months. But here also they're coming from a much smaller base, so they're still there's
a base effect.
Yeah, they're still smaller. Yeah, and then of course there's the broader economy. I think it definitely didn't help that Bangladesh was they had a very stable economy before COVID, right? Whereas Pakistan was going through a lot of economic pressure, price inflation, currency depreciation, which is all impacting the consumer prices in the country. And we definitely felt that every imported product is just more expensive now than it was 12 months ago. And that, of course, impacts the buying behavior of the customers.
So we've had a look at your financials. An important question that does come up is, what is the major source of revenue for Daraz?
So when Bjarke was describing our business, majority of our business, like he mentioned, is from the marketplace, which is sellers that are in the markets, sellers all over Pakistan that essentially put their products up on our platform to sell. And what we do is we charge a commission from those sellers on the products that they sell. So that is actually where most of our revenue is generated. This includes the commissions that we have on the products, the sales, the payment services, fulfilling the products, etc.
So if we were to talk about the other side, now that we've talked about revenue, what is the major cost center for Daraz?
In the most expensive exercise in e-commerce is logistics. So we actually spend millions and millions of dollars per year ensuring that our customers can get the products quickly and safely. And in order to make this experience better, and in order to make the logistics network stronger, over the last few years, we have spent in the tens of millions of dollars in warehousing, in middle mile, last mile, to ensure that our customers and our sellers have constant and instant access to each other. And through this investment, actually, we launched something called Daraz Express, which through Daraz Express, we've built 5 warehouses across the country in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. Faisalabad was launched recently as well. And we have 50 hubs across the country And these hubs are very interesting because they're a typical hub and spoke model where sort of logistics and sorting happens, but they also have become a little bit like community centers where they're located in areas where sellers can come and drop off their packages, customers can come and pick their packages up. In fact, customers, if they want free chai or Wi-Fi, they can come to these hubs. And through this network, we also have over 2,500 heroes. So those are the delivery agents across the country. And that is really, when you look at the core of the greatest cost center, in e-commerce, it is always logistics. And that's why we have really invested there to make that experience for our customers better.
What about this? Is this fixed cost going to go down?
Yeah, there's components of it that are fixed. There's components of it that are, of course, variable. And we do, of course, expect, and the targets we have for ourselves is that we want to ensure that we can continue to drive these costs down, but not at the expense of providing an exceptional experience. So we work very, very hard to make sure that it's in fact very nice to see that that despite the fact that we're able to reduce our costs, we're able to deliver faster. And through our network, we're able to reduce the lead time from when a product is ordered to the point the product is successfully delivered to the customer. And our goal is to make sure that we do those together. So we optimize, which means that of course we will focus on cost, but we will always ensure that the experience the customer gets is exceptional.
Yeah, but I would also say that to answer the question very directly, no, the fixed cost will not go down, right? So e-commerce is a game of scale, right? So, and it's a game of unit economics. So the only way for us to become profitable, and of course we have to become profitable someday, right? We're not profitable today, which is very normal for an e-commerce business that is scaling up. But of course we have a goal to do so at some point. And in order to do that, we need to we just need scale, right? So the more orders that we can process through our infrastructure, where we can make a small contribution towards the fixed costs, that's what matters. So we build the infrastructure and then we build the scale, right? And that's the only way to become profitable, right? We're not gonna become profitable by taking out fixed cost of the infrastructure that we've built.
So we've seen your financials up until 2019 March, and we haven't seen the latest, but the question is, over the years, your revenue has increased. However, your costs have increased at a higher rate, and specifically the fulfillment expenses. The question is, does Daraz see light at the end of the tunnel?
So I think you will also start seeing then in the next financials that this is very natural again when you're building the infrastructure. And as we talked about, we made a strategic decision that we had to build logistics infrastructure in order to scale up the marketplace. That requires some investments, and now over the last 18 months, we've really started to also see the efficiency results. So it's going in the right direction. But initially, when you go out and you build a logistics business, it costs a lot of money, right? so that's natural, and we're still in that investment phase. I think over the coming years, and even you can see it in the latest results as well, that the revenue to cost ratio is starting to go in the right direction. But you can also see that, and it's also no secret, right, that we've invested well above $50 million to date, and that's, to be honest, $50 million is not. It's a lot of money, of course, but in the grand scheme of things of what it costs to build an e-commerce marketplace, if you compare to other markets, it could easily go into the billions, right? We want to do it much more efficiently, and we've allocated more than $100 million to invest in Pakistan over the next 3 years, to invest in logistics infrastructure, localized technology solutions, expanding Daraz University, and upgrading customer experience. So I think this is that we've invested well above 50 million to date. That's a lot of money, but it's by no means not outside of the normal. I think that's actually a lot less than e-commerce businesses that are our current size have done in comparable markets. And yeah, we will continue to invest more than $100 million over the next 3 years.
Can we see your 2020 financials?
Yeah, when they become ready, you can find them in the same way that you did.
So what's the delay with the filing? We spoke to someone at the SECP, and a key reason that they suggested is that your auditor is not ready to give you a going concern until you have a clear commitment from the sponsor. Is this true?
No, all of our audits are perfectly fine. We have no remarks by any of the auditors. That I can say for sure. So there's no delay. I don't know why they're not on SECP, but we're following all the all the timelines, and no issues from our auditors.
So we've talked about logistics, but on the other hand, we have sales and marketing expenses. So essentially, one could say that you're subsidizing your products. So the question is, do you think Daraz will be able to maintain its consumer base once it removes these subsidies? So for instance, if we talk about QR payments in Pakistan, banks and other companies heavily subsidized products using QR codes. But once these discounts went away, people went back to cash. So do you think Daraz will maintain itself?
Absolutely. So we should discounts is something that we use to acquire customers, to move customers, for example, from cash on delivery to prepayments, for re-engagement initiatives, and for just creating campaign excitement. It's absolutely core to our strategy that we move progressively away from subsidizing products, right? So what we encourage our sellers, you will also see that a lot of the discounts now on the platform are actually seller vouchers, right? So we gave now the sellers the ability to say, if you want to create a voucher, it's not Daraz paying for it, but it's the seller. You go in and you create your own vouchers, and then you can give them out to customers to drive product sales and excitement about your store. We still do it, so our budget is still there for building this, and it will continue to be there for the coming years as well. But the share of the business which is driven by discounts is getting a lot less, right? And that's, as you said, absolutely core to the long-term strategy. It's only good to get the customers on board, but then we need to retain the customers and grow the business organically by providing a good service, right? And the more price competitive we also become, referring back to our earlier discussion, the less need there will also be for these product discounts to drive the sales. So yeah, it's still there. It will continue to be there, but it's representing less and less of the business. And absolutely agree that it's not a healthy long-term strategy if that becomes your core USP. That's definitely not what we want to do.
So is Daraz on an austerity drive? Is it cutting down costs at the office, especially on the salaried staff?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand here that what we said is our mission is to do business, to make it easier to do business in a digital era. And I think as we do that, it's super important for us to continue optimizing our business. And optimizing our business means we're going to obviously look at our costs, and where there is wastage, we don't want to waste it, regardless of if it's this year or if it was pre-COVID. We don't want to be wasting money. So at the same time, as Bjarke also highlighted, you wouldn't really go into an austerity drive and then commit to investing $100 million at the same time. So despite the fact that, of course, we will always continue being critical of costs that are wasteful, we look at every opportunity at the same time as if there's an investment opportunity that allows for us to grow, that allows us to get to our core of providing a better customer experience, then we will continue investing in it.
So even though your latest financials are not out, can we know whether the loss to income ratio has improved or not?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it absolutely has improved. Yeah.
So how big is it? Are you the biggest player?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to sort of know that because no one shares their numbers. So it's difficult to know if we are the biggest or not. But I would imagine that in the FMCG space and the grocery space, we're one of the larger ones. Yes.
So who else do you see as a competitor? From what we believe is that there is no other major player that has your assortment or that operates at your size. For instance, in India, we've got Flipkart, but who do you see in Pakistan? And for lack of a better word, do you think you have a monopolistic position in Pakistan?
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because it's not always an advantage, to be very honest with you, because I think if you look at our biggest competitor, it's really people that sell on Instagram and Facebook. And unfortunately, there is very little governance on those platforms, right? So you can order something online from one of those and there's a potential that you get scammed, which really hurts what Bjarke also talked about, which was building that trust for the customers. So when we're the only player and we really have to really push that narrative that, no, look, you are protected. If something does go wrong, don't worry, we've got your back and we will fix it. We unfortunately, like you said, are the only player that is pushing that narrative, and the competition we do face is, like I said, from not traditional marketplaces, but rather from the Facebooks and Instagrams of the world.
So when I asked Bjarke whether he sees light at the end of the tunnel, he didn't answer that specifically, but what he did mention was $100 million for the next 3 years. So the question is, has that been committed by the sponsor?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's too early to say, to be very honest with you. And and that's probably the reason also why he didn't say it, is because it is a bit difficult to be able to know exactly when that will happen. But what we do know is that we will, like he did say, that we do plan on continuing to invest well over $100 million, inshallah, in Pakistan over the next 3 years in the logistics infrastructure, in the localized technology solutions, and into Daraz University, as well as upgrading our customer experience. So unfortunately, I cannot be more specific than that, because frankly, it is a bit difficult for us to be able to know exactly when that will be.
So with Jack Ma running into trouble with the authorities in China, has there been any nervousness at the Daraz offices in Pakistan?
Um, I honestly, I did not sense. The only nervousness I felt is from people outside of Daraz asking questions. So to be honest with you, everyone, no one within Daraz thought more of it. We operate actually quite independently, as a company. I think we're very fortunate in that we have a lot of the knowledge that they have, a lot of the technology that they have, and a lot of the training and development programs for their employees that we have. But we still operate very much independently as a Pakistani run company. So did not feel, thankfully, much pressure of it.
So why doesn't Daraz go into the business of being a logistics service provider as a standalone service?
I think, look, our focus right now is to ensure that what we have on our own plate, we can do exceptionally well. And when Bjarke talked about, for example, the success rate, being in the high 90s for something we do through Dex, the lead times being optimized. There's a lot of improvements that we still want to, and we continue to aspire to make before we take on other people's problems, to be honest with you. And that's really why we've so far focused on making sure that we've conquered our own issues. We've made sure that we focus on digitizing the logistics network, and then we can think about what else is after. But to be honest with you, right now, that is our core focus right now.
Are you earning through consumer insight, data analysis, or consumer data in any form?
No, we don't sell any data, but of course we do use consumer insights to be able to provide them with a better experience. In that you may go on Daraz and you see things that are recommended for your user type, right? So Daraz doesn't know that it hates Ariba, but they know that a customer who's a customer profile similar to Ariba would have potentially liked 1, 2, and 3 items, and so it would recommend it accordingly.
You've hired a number of people in Pakistan over the past 2 years. Is recruitment another form of investment in Pakistan?
Yes, of course. I think it's something that we're super proud of, and I think we're very fortunate that even when COVID happened and most companies were sort of letting go of people, we did not have to get into that position. We were still able to sort of make sure that we continued hiring where we need to. And at the end of the day, when this is part of the investment in Pakistan, and I would say there's 2 elements of this. One is the hiring, and 2 is the training and development. And I think that knowledge base that we've gotten from Alibaba really helps with a lot of the training and development that our teams get. And so I think this investment, of course, is in making sure that we have the right people and within our network and our operations across Pakistan, but also ensuring that their training and development is something that we can be proud of and be hopefully the leading company in Pakistan for training and development of our employees.
So is Daraz University a cost for Daraz Pakistan, or does Daraz parent company pay for it?
Yeah, so Daraz University in itself is a platform, right? And then all the modules are made localized. So there's no real cost associated. Of course, there's a cost associated with maintaining, for example, if we have a seller center where sellers can access stuff, Daraz University would have some sort of cost associated to that. But all of the modules and all of the partnerships that we do are locally done. So for example, we have a partnership with Karachi School of Business and Leadership to offer their programs there. Whatever would be done would be locally, but like I said, maintenance is whatever would be for any typical platform.